dispense with all of the political correctness. And by the way, that's the worst form of tyranny because it's self-censorship. They don't want us to talk about it. Let's dispense with all that and call it what it is. They are coming for each and every one of our guns, and we are here today to say, no, you're not going to have them, no matter what you say. Northern Idaho, Eastern Washington, and Montana will say no to you. We really are witnessing the systematic dismantling of our republic, and we need to be very clear, too. This is intentional.
Yes.
This is the fundamental transformation that our president talked about when he first got elected. It is intentional. So what do? I think there's two things. We need to live the Constitution every day, and we need to boldly preach and fight for the truth at every single point that our God-given inalienable rights are attacked.
Yep.
So what do I mean by live the Constitution? How many of you are actually physically carrying today? I'm going to show you a little leg because I am too. How many are carrying today? Raise your hand. There you go. I feel really safe up here right now. So I want to read a quote from a couple founding fathers because the media tries to say this stuff doesn't exist. Our founders really didn't say that. So I'm going to read a couple quotes. I don't like reading, but I'm going to do it. And here is what Hitchcox said in 1788. Congress has no power to disarm the militia. Their swords and every other terrible implement of the soldier are the birthright of an American. The unlimited power of the sword is not in the hands of either the federal or state government, but where I trust in God, it will ever remain in the hands of the people. Woo! And then Thomas Jefferson said this, and I love this quote. I'm going to frame it, I think. A strong body makes the mind strong. As to the species of exercises I advise, the gun. We'll say it again. For all these, you say that I don't want to exercise. I advise the gun. While this gives moderate exercise to the body, it gives boldness, enterprise, and independence to the mind. Games played with the ball and others of that nature are too violent for the body. The gun, therefore, should be the constant companion of your walks.
All right.
Thomas Jefferson. On changing that narrative of the Founding Fathers, and I believe the media has been complicit in lying about guns and about gun-free zones. And I want to be very clear on this point. I talked to Larry Pratt, the head of Gun Owners of America, about this. Since 1950, every mass shooting that involved 3 or more people, with one exception, since 1950 has been in a gun-free zone.
Repeal it!
In a gun-free zone. Let's not call it a gun-free zone anymore.
Killing zone.
It's a killing zone. It is a killing zone.
Yep.
That is exactly what it is. And when are we going to take the safety of our children and our families seriously? Likely, constitutional carry would have stopped or minimized that. And I'm going to get back to this because the mainstream media says, oh, why do you guys have to have guns? You hate people. You want to see people die. No, I don't. I love life. I think life is sacred. And life, if it's sacred, is worth defending with constitutional carry. And so we need also to hold the media accountable for these radical views. And the Seattle Times, no surprise, Jerry Large actually had a piece called Liberal Elitists Do in Fact Want to Take Our Guns. They come out and admit this stuff now. So we need to be bold to go on the offense. And this whole thing about the war on women or the real war on women, folks, they're not only killing women in the womb through abortion, they're killing women on our college campuses by disarming them as well. And so let's shatter a couple other mainstream media myths too with a couple quotes from people that they always quote, but they never quote these things. The right to defend one's home and one's person when attacked has been guaranteed through the ages by common law. Martin Luther King Jr., page 55 of Where Do We Go From Here, Chaos or Community. And then, not to be outdone, among the many misdeeds of the British rule in India, history will look upon the act depriving a whole nation of arms as the blackest. If we want the Arms Act to be repealed, if we want to learn the use of arms, here's a golden opportunity. Mahatma Gandhi, page 430, his autobiography. That kind of destroys some of the myths out there, doesn't it? And so it was not surprising, with all of the things that this administration is doing, that in 2013 they issued a roll call release from the Department of Homeland Security that said this: possible indicators of criminal weapons possession related to terrorism are large quantities of weapons in an individual's home.
Excuse me?
So what is North Idaho then? My goodness. What is North Idaho? Also, I want to say that, and we already know this, but I want to say it out loud for everybody. I don't need to do or have a permit to do something that comes from God. I don't have to apply for a piece of paper to do something that is given to me by God Almighty. And let's start talking that way when we talk to our legislators, and including down in Boise, Idaho.
Right on.
All right. Solution 2, boldly preach the truth. Some people say, well, it's not in the law, Matt. You don't understand constitutional law. I said, well, have you read the Constitution? Most of them haven't. You don't understand constitutional law. Well, there are a couple court cases I want to read from as well, okay? And these come from the 1800s, and they think they're really good. To prohibit a citizen from wearing or carrying a war arm is an unwarranted restriction upon the constitutional right to keep and bear arms. If cowardly and dishonorable men sometimes shoot unarmed men with army pistols or guns, the evil must be prevented by the penitentiary and the gallows, and not by the general deprivation of constitutional rights.
Exactly.
Wow. Awesome Beach State. For in principle, there is no difference between a law prohibiting the wearing of concealed arms and a law forbidding the wearing such as are exposed. And if the former be unconstitutional, the latter must so be likewise. But it should not be forgotten that it is not only a part of the right that is secured by the Constitution, it is the right entire and incomplete as it existed at the adoption of the Constitution. And if any portion of that right be impaired, immaterial how small that part may be, and immaterial the order of time at which it be done, it is equally forbidden by the Constitution. That is about as plain, I think, as you can get it. The constitutional carry is exactly what it says, and it needs to be the law in Idaho officially. So boldly preaching the truth, I want to end with a couple things. When guns are first registered and then taken away, there is no more freedom.
Nope.
Anytime you've got to fill out a paper that is somehow cataloged, there's no more freedom. Russia was one of the most well-armed countries in the entire world, and 20 years later, when the communists took over, the first thing they did was disarm veterans, and then they took over the entire country. And it wasn't a large group of them either. I believe that if we don't stand strong on this stuff, it actually emboldens people. Weakness is provocative. Strength and action are contagious. And you know what? Strength, if it would have been allowed to be present on that campus in Oregon, would have likely prevented that tragedy. So we need to decide what people we are. Are we God-fearing, self-reliant, freedom-loving Americans? Government-dependent constitution-ignoring socialists?
No!
Look, our strategy is pretty simple. Best way to expose a tyrant is to make him act like one. That means we live the Constitution every day, we boldly preach the truth, we go on the offense. We fight them at every turn. No matter where this happens, in Bonner County, Idaho, in Spokane County, Washington, in Clark County, Nevada, in Dallas, Oregon, in Lincoln, Montana, wherever this stuff crops up, we need to be there for our neighbors. Because if it's going to happen to our neighbors, eventually it is going to happen to us. And I think that we need to ask the media, and by the way, Chris Ann Hall corrected me, what's the difference between a protest and a rally? I didn't know the answer to this. She said it the other night. A protest shames the people that are trying to destroy your rights. That's the difference. A rally is supposed to encourage, the other one's supposed to shame the people. So let's shame the media a little bit right now, and some of the other people, all right? And I'm going to give you some responses when they try to get in your face about things. When they say that we hate women, we need to say we respond with, we love all human life, women and children. Why don't you? When they say, why do you have food and water stored up for disaster? Well, how come you have too many guns and ammo? I mean, that doesn't even make sense. Too many guns, too much ammo. That makes sense. They say that. We respond with, we love our neighbors. Why don't you? When they say that we're being extremist, we respond by saying, when you try to overthrow the Constitution of the United States, that is what is extreme, that is what is traitorous. So let's make them defend their godless, un-American positions, and let's call it exactly what it is. So the question is, we know the solution now. The question is, will we have the courage to stand? And I want to tell you the story really quick about Fort McHenry. We all know the story of Fort McHenry, where our national anthem comes from. Francis Scott Key is in the harbor. He's trying to negotiate a prisoner transfer. He gets on the ship. The English double-cross him and say, look, you're not going anywhere. We're going to destroy Fort McHenry tonight, and you're going to watch. And all night long, those prisoners in the hold of that ship kept asking him, hey, is our flag still there? Do you still see the flag? Is it still up? All night long, he said, yeah, it's still there. I can see it, it's still there. It's tattered, it's torn, but it's still there. And the dawn's early light broke, and that flag was still up on that flagpole, but it was canted at a very strange angle. Do you want to know what was holding up that flag? The bodies of dead Americans. Because every time the British hit that flagpole and it fell down, an American ran back out and put that standard back up. And every time it got knocked down, they put it back up again. And again, and again, and again, and again. And that's what we have to do. Every time they attack our freedom, we put the standard back up again. And I'm sick and tired of people saying, oh, they're too big, the government's too powerful, we can't do anything about it. Not in North Idaho, not in Washington State. William Wallace, and he beat the British. They said the same thing to George Washington, and he beat the British. By the way, there's a theme there. They said the same thing to Michael Collins in Ireland, and he beat the British. All it takes is for us, as a core group of people, standing together every time they assail our rights, to say no. Not here, not now, and not for my kids and my grandkids. Every time we raise that standard of freedom back up when they try to knock it down, and I think constitutional carry is a symbol of that standard of freedom being raised up. So when you leave here today, make sure you stop by the table over there. You sign up on the email for the Idaho Second Amendment Alliance. Make sure that you sign the petition to get constitutional carry here in Idaho. And also make sure that you support that wonderful representative you have with Heather Scott. She is one of the bravest people I've seen in America. So, will you throw off the chains of political slavery?
Yeah.
Will you throw off the chains of political slavery?
Yeah.
Will you raise that standard of freedom up again?
Yeah.
And when we leave here, may we bless God by keeping America free, and may we bless God by constitutionally carrying as well. And I'm sure that'll make the paper, so I love that one. All right, God bless you guys. Thank you for being here. And again, you can go sign up on that truck. The rally is concluded. I'm sorry, the protest is concluded because we shaved. Please go by the table before you leave. God bless you guys. Travel safe. And continue to pray for your leaders here in Idaho. Take care.
Dan.
That was cool.
Of another mother.